Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our interview with KC Woodruff, author of Hold Up the Book, Beck.
Oh my goodness.
Dawn of the Darkest Day, Soul Trappers Saga. In part 1, we got all the wisdom, all the tea, all the information about KC and this book, and no spoilers. But now we're going to get into spoilers because if you've read this book, you need therapy. So that's what this session is for.
Yeah, and if you're watching this is, all spoilers on the table, but also for this episode specifically, we will be putting out a trigger warning, I think, on the bottom, and link
to her website.
Yeah, link her trigger warnings that she gave out for the book. And as always, this is an adult podcast, explicit, cursing, all of the above. So at this point, if you're still here, you're in for it.
Yeah, I'm going to say it one more time, that this is a really heavy book. If you've read the book, you're here. So any topic that was talked about in the book could be discussed here. So that's just the preface.
So if you haven't read it, and this is like your what is this book about, look at the trigger warning.
Go back to part 1. Okay. Okay, so every author we talk to, I like to do a little character game. And
I love Lydia's games.
So this is called Character Confessions. And I've chosen 3 characters from your book, and I want you to place your mind into their mind, become the character, and I'm going to ask you these questions, and I want you to answer as the character would answer. Okay? As them. Say, I feel, I think, okay? So we're going to start with the easiest one, which is Vane.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
I'm so excited for this. Okay.
This is great. Okay, get into it. Vane. What is the one truth you wish Ara understood about you?
She needs to cut me a fucking break.
Honestly? Oh my goodness. Yeah. What rule do you live by that others would call monstrous?
I am willing to do the evil things. Nothing is off the table so that other people do not have to.
People would be calling that monstrous. Some people
Like saying that out loud.
You do your perfect part. What? Oh, are you the villain, or are you just the one willing to do what others can't?
Both.
You know what? Yes.
Yes, okay.
Valid answer.
Okay, now switch to Ara. Hopefully this is easier.
Okay. You know how to get in touch with the dark side.
Okay, what lie did you grow up believing?
That the world is good.
No.
Okay, do you believe in redemption?
I do.
If you and Savant switched places, would you have done better, made different choices than what he's made, or what would you have done differently?
I would have made different choices, but I don't know for sure that they would have been better. But something I would have done differently I would not have done a genocide.
Fair.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's great.
Genocide
Okay.
is not on the table.
We can avoid genocide, people. Okay.
Oh, Stead. Oh, or Savant. Stead.
Or Savant. Shout out to Casey's mom.
What do you hope for your future?
We're going to the end of the book. You want said at the end of the book.
I mean,
You want me to
can.
answer this as said at the end of the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I want for my future? Nothing. I just want to die.
That is so sad. Because I imagine instead of the beginning of the book would have been, marriage and happiness.
Yeah.
What responsibility weighs on you the heaviest?
I want to protect my family, and I have failed every single time it has mattered.
Wow. Okay.
What fear do you carry that no one knows about?
That no one knows about?
Or maybe the readers don't understand.
What fear do you carry?
I feel like I'm going to answer that the same way. I am afraid that I will lose everyone close to me to violence eventually.
That's so sad.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was such a fun game.
A great game, guys.
Sure about this one?
Well, okay, so
One character wants genocide, the other one will never do it, and the other one just wants to die.
it's a dark book, and so the other authors that we've talked to, their books had dark themes in it, but they weren't this level of dark.
Yeah,
And
there's
so
a lot more like hope vibes.
the games that we played were more like I just was like, I can't make genocide fun. Like, how do I do that? And the answer is I really couldn't. So I kind of thought it'd be more fun, like as a read, not fun. Like as a reader, I wanted to know more about understanding these characters.
Let's play this game again after book 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
As depressing.
Okay.
That's good
Okay.
to know.
So for our readers, our listeners, we don't know if they just finished the book or how long has it been. So can you give us a short summary of the book? And if you could go part by part of, like, if you don't remember what happens here and there, I just read the book and I religiously know a lot about it. So, but if you could just kind of give a summary of what happens in book 1, so we can all be on the same page about the plot points.
Yes. I literally was having to type this up today, and I stopped midway through part 1 because I was like, what do you say? What do you say?
Genocide, rape, a lot of bad things. Okay.
We actually did a summary, a kind of a joke summary of this book, and Lydia's was like, what was it? Traumatic thing, traumatic thing, traumatic thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mine was, I just added a little thing, which was like, hopeful, shiny beginning. Traumatic thing, traumatic thing, traumatic thing.
And that is the book. The end.
Nobody's gonna want to read.
Hey, I will say, if I am given a book and it doesn't have that, I'm not interested.
Okay, so part 1 starts out, well, it doesn't start out hopeful. It starts out with the genocide.
Prologue.
Okay, except for that part. I meant the character.
There is a blip of happiness. It starts out with an ambassador trying to bargain for his wife and daughter's lives from the new king of Shadedale, Thane Savant. And who is killing all of the Selene, this race. Think elves, but they're called Selene. And he says that he will spare them if he can marry his daughter, which it's the other way around. He offers his daughter to him, and he agrees. Fast forward 5 years, Ara is the daughter. She is happily in love with Stead. They have been courting basically for the last 5 years and are planning on getting married. Ara is called back to Shadedale for a very brief visit, which, plot twist, is her wedding to King Savant, and she is terrified of him because she watched him kill all her people. He like tries to throw her a bone, and she's just like, there is no good in you whatsoever. It takes a couple of very abusive things for him to realize that she cannot say no to him because she's too afraid to. And once she breaks down, has a panic attack, and he realizes she's not pretending to be afraid of me, they make a deal that when she gives him an heir, she will be allowed to leave and live the rest of her life in blissful, ignorant luxury. So that's part 1. Part 2, there is a 6-month time jump, I think, 5 or 6 months. Oh, I forgot Stead in part 1. Sorry, let's rewind. At the same time, Stead finds out that Ara has married Savant. Stead's family was killed during the genocide, everyone except for one sibling, including his younger siblings and parents. And once he finds out that Ara is married to the man who took his family from him. He goes to her aunt, who is the queen, and says, what are we going to do? And she invites him to join her army to eventually be part of a rescue team. So then 6 months later, he is coming out of, into part 2. He is coming out of basic training and has joined the Palace Guard, which is the precursor to like her kind of special forces, Grace's Guard. And when that starts, he meets Alice, who is super cute and super into him, and they become fast friends. And he also realizes that he's a little bit into her. And while that all is happening, Ara and Savant are making progress with the air making. And it is very toxic, and he is still very like just belittling and like emotionally abusive, and has just kind of shoved her off to the side for only like party planning and just very minor things, because she still thinks he's evil, still thinks that what he is doing in how he runs his kingdom, he has enslaved her people, the Selene, and she is trying to change all of his legislation all the time, and he is not about that, and so they are constantly butting heads. And then he is working his way across the continent, taking over more cities. And he shares with her multiple times that his reasoning is because technology has failed, the world is falling into collapse, and he is trying to unify everyone so that he can kind of legislate everything, and that they can all share resources and everything can kind of be efficient during this catastrophe that no one is taking seriously. And she still thinks that is very evil. So, but he makes a lot of really good points.
Yeah.
And so when he goes to take over another city, he takes her with him. And as part of Stead's training, he is sent to that city to help train their army with Alice. He and Alice have their first kiss. During this time, they also sleep together, and Stead, how in detail do you want me to talk about the meeting that Ara wanders into that Stead is into?
Yeah.
Like they, at one point, like Stead and Alice are invited with the leaders of the city to a meeting in Savant's war camp to negotiate the surrender, basically, and Ara just bumbles her way in, kind of like ruins the meeting a little bit, doesn't recognize Stead, and it's all very dramatic.
As a reader, when I knew that their paths were about to cross, I wrote it in the book. I was like, their paths are about to cross, and then I was like, what is going on? Their paths crossed, but then they didn't cross in this whole part. I was like, and then what happens at the end of the part was crazy.
Yes. So after Stead sleeps with Alice, he feels terrible about it. And man, I'm just leaving out so many details.
I know, it's hard.
Also
yeah.
But he feels terrible about it and goes to try and find Ara in the war camp he doesn't say so, but he wants to like find her and make sure she's okay. Ara, in the meantime, has been kind of developing a relationship with the captain of her guard, who has shown a lot of interest. And she sees it as like her only semblance of happiness in a miserable situation. And he takes her far away from the camp, and they start kissing and are stopped by her stewardess. And Ara orders them both to leave, and it gets lost, heading back, and almost runs into Stead. He calls out her name, and then Savant finds her and hits her in front of Stead. And Stead almost reveals himself, but Alice and the general of the city North Shore's army stop him. And the general basically says, like, I have an idea of how we can use her. And he approaches her and is like, hey, Stead's here. If you come with me, I'll take you to him, and we can kind of also use you as leverage to, get your husband to surrender and end his siege. And Ara immediately clocks that she is being taken advantage of, because she's like, there's no way that Stead is here. So instead she goes to Savant, but she tells the general, yes, like, I will go with you. But she secretly goes to Savant and tells him what happened. And so then Stead and Alice are waiting for the general. The general comes back with Ara. Stead sees her, and then he sees Savant walk out from behind her. And the general, this is like way more detailed than I need to be, gets super mad. Stead, Savant goes to try and kill Alice. Stead steps in front of her. He gets his face cut open and is down. So Ara still doesn't recognize him at this point, because he is bleeding on the ground.
The tension of walking around this crossover was crazy.
Was also catching strays. Like, he could not win.
No, he could not.
I feel like reading the book with the POV of Stead was like, sometimes there was a little hope, but also it never got to the hope. It was like,
Never mind.
Yeah, I will say, just from a writing perspective, that was so hard to, like, the North Shore part specifically took me months of rewriting because I couldn't let her recognize him, because I wanted the ending to land the way it did.
It landed.
Yeah, but he is present for all these events. And so, getting him disfigured and then face down, like, the choreography was just, oh man, like, it was tough.
It was storytelling, that's for sure.
But the general throws her in the river. Sorry, I should add, Ara, I didn't even talk about the assassination. Because
there's a lot that happens in this book.
This book has so much.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this,
right,
you've read it. So that's okay. I'm not like pitching.
You're just reminding us of the biggest points.
Like, this is the book.
Yeah. So the general has like a sword to Ara's throat, basically, and is like, end your siege or I'm going to kill her right now. And Ara shouts or implies, and then Savant picks up on, she is pregnant, like, she finally conceived. And when the general realizes this as well, he then throws her into the river behind them. Alice rescues her because she is perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, Alice was so, like, that scene was like, you go, Alice.
And then once they, like, rescue her, he kills the general. Well, I should say he stabs him and then throws the general into the river. I feel like I should be specific.
He does it in the main way.
Yes. And then he takes her back to the tent that they're sharing. He also takes Stead and Alice back to the tent. They're tied up. It's like divided. So they're like in the receiving room. Ara and Savant are in the bedroom. Through their conversation about her having conceived, she realizes the reason he wanted an heir from her is so that he could use that heir to take over her home, where she is the like next in line to, who her aunt rules Lake Haven. And she's like, oh shit, I need to get a message to her. And these, you know,
These people might get
that message to her. I know that they are not loyal to him. And so she seduces him. They sleep together. And Stead listens to all of it. And that is like his flip switch of like, okay, it's revenge time, baby. Like, who even knows what is going through Ara's head? But she's clearly like on a different planet. And no one I love will ever be safe unless he's gone. Disregarding the fact that this man has a reputation for being immortal, Stead does not care.
Well, we see that at the end of the book. He doesn't take that into account.
He does not. And so after the
seducing,
she is sent back to Shaithdale, where they are ruling. And she, when she gets there, she's like, okay, I'm going to do all the things that he didn't want me doing with legislation. And she goes to talk to her father, who has been avoiding her this whole time because he is a coward. And while she's there, she finds out that, which I left out of my explanation of part one, she finds out that Stead and Ashton had sent a message to her, a painting at the beginning of the book, basically implying like, we are working on a way to figure out how to get you home.
Also, like, we didn't just abandon you.
Yeah.
Like, you think we did.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible lie for her father to tell because she was feeling so abandoned.
Yeah, and he had her sign paperwork in a language that she was not very well versed in, like a legalese kind of language that she was too emotional at the time to translate, and the things she signed basically said, I chose this of my own free will, I don't want any rescuing. So she finds all that out and crashes out hard.
Valid. I also crashed out.
This part really did me in.
Yeah. I think she had notes in the book, so I was like, yeah, I agree. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, this part honestly makes me sick to this day.
Yeah.
But she goes back to her room, drafts up some legislation that we don't know about yet, but gets it sent out. And then the captain of her guard, Gormar, comes in and is like, why are you crashing out? She tells him, and he's like, well, let's have sex. And they do, and it's not like, it is consensual, but he does not take her pleasure into account whatsoever. And she's very like taken aback by this because Savant always has. And she instead also never had sex before. She was waiting until they were married. Mm-hmm. And then Gormar starts talking about, I'm gonna tell everyone, like, you know, I finally like got you, I've been wearing you down. And she is like, oh, if Savant finds out I slept with someone, if he finds out I cheated on him, he is going to kill me. And so she tells this guard, like, you're banished. Like, I'm not just firing you, but you're out of the city. Like, I cannot risk this. And he does not take that well and attacks her. And then the stewardess who stopped them before comes back in and like beats him with a fire poker.
She is so real.
I loved her as a character, and I was worried because when she first interrupts them at the war camp, I'm gonna be honest, I've a little bit as a reader thought, I didn't see this coming, okay? I didn't see him coming as being a total jerk. So I thought it was like, girl, why are you acting like... Anyways, I didn't pick up on that, and I felt really bad.
I, on the other hand, was like, she knows something that she doesn't know, and I'm like, what's going on? I didn't know it was going to lead there, but it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah.
Because I actually...
She is, okay, just for preference, Lydia is not good at picking up on any kind of foreshadowing. Or like, I am the one that's like, clocked it.
I love that we have this dichotomy.
This is the podcast point, is that we're so different readers.
Yeah, well, I love writing in lots of like subtle foreshadowing that's like very intentional, but as a reader,
when she walked up to that, like, them, like, interrupted them, I was like, she knows something. I don't know what, like, she knows or where she's thinking, but I was like, something. I didn't think she was jealous.
I thought it was honestly a realistic reaction, that she didn't just go out and say like, well, he did this to me and he does this to a lot of girls. I thought it was actually realistic that her first reaction was just like, I'm sorry that I interrupted you. I'm really sorry about this. And I was like, you know what? At first I was mad at her because I was like, why couldn't you just tell her then and save us this event? But I feel like it actually was realistic as her character to not have felt like she could say anything at that point to Ara.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
No, it's very realistic. I actually have had this dynamic with like many of the women like friends in my life. This is like happens. Where like, oh, he's so fine. And like later on, it's like, no, he's actually horrible. Why didn't you say anything before?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And well, there's like a huge power imbalance between them that's keeping her. And then her history with Gormar is different from Ara's. And so there's also that dichotomy of, or like that difference of having to like confront your abuser. That is very difficult. Just generally. And especially for her where she's very soft-spoken.
Yeah, and so the fact that she even showed up in the first place was a lot.
Yeah. So she just, when I was like in her head for that moment, because I asked myself, I was like, why isn't she just being up front here? And so I just pushed her as far as she would go. And then I think I even wrote in the book at one point, or like in the narrative, Ara could tell that she was ready for that interaction to be over. Like Ara could tell that Naya was ready to dip as fast as she could because it was too much. And so Naya's one of my favorite characters. Yeah, I love my side characters a lot.
Such great side characters.
Anyways, so she saves Ara from Gormar trying to kill her, and then Ara tells her about Stead. She tells her about wanting to find happiness, and it kind of gets left on this hopeful, like maybe, like I'm almost out of here, I'm pregnant, like I'm so close to being done. She wakes up the next evening to Savant, like, pulling her out of bed, basically, and takes her to his office and shows her that their city is like on fire. And she's just like bleary, like, what is going on? Thinks, like, is recalling, like, this is what it looked like during the genocide. And he tells her this legislation that you passed, where you granted the Selene right of travel, has backfired, because it was very obvious, even though you forged it in my handwriting, that it was not something I would have done. It was very obvious that it came from you. And so what happened was the Selene rebelled and said, well, no, it's in his handwriting, like, it is from him. And the city guard was like, obviously not. And so more people end up getting killed. And he says, all these deaths are on your hands. And it's very, like, it is very clear that it is a fuck up on her part. Like, she did not do this in the right headspace. It was the intent was good, but the execution was catastrophic. And so he tells her that he tells her that he knows that she slept with Gormar as well. Just basically lambasts her for every mistake she's ever made. And then tells her that she has crossed the line too much with this, and now she has to pay. And it's going to be someone she loves, and he makes her choose if it's going to be her mom, Farron, or Stead. And she thinks he doesn't even know about Stead. And he's just like, I obviously know about him. Like, I have more than 2 brain cells. Like, I am smart.
I kept an eye on you. I knew we were going to get married.
Yeah. And so she is forced to choose. He says, choose or it'll be both of them. And she asks him to spare Stead because she thinks, at least my mom has they have guards at their home. My aunt might care more. Like she just has to in the moment reason with herself, and she asks him to spare Stead. He leaves to go do that. She's crashing out hard, and
Doesn't he lock her in the room?
He locks her in his office, and she's trying to get out, and then just kind of comes to this realization of like, as long as I'm alive, like people are constantly, like I've always feared for the lives of my loved ones, and I think they'll be safe if I'm not around. And so she had grabbed a knife to try and like break out of the room with it, and then turns it on herself and stabs herself in the heart in a suicide attempt. And then part 2, is that the end of part 2? Yes. Well, part 2 ends basically with Stead going back to Ashern to report everything that happened and deliver this message that Ara gave him, that she still did not recognize him. Because I will say, she recognized him, but she dissociated that it could have been him.
That's what I got for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it as a plot hole or anything. I saw it as she's been through a lot of trauma. Her mind is dissociation heaven. So
Honestly, yeah, because that is like a lot of trauma back to back, and you're just seeing this person who probably looks a little different because of
and
time.
also you don't
it's like,
want
you're
that
not
person to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want this person to see this. So totally understand. Like, good.
Yeah. So she and that even gets addressed in book 2, where she's like,
It gets addressed.
and it even is addressed a little bit at the end of book 1, where she sees him as like it had always been him. She knew he was the soldier from North Shore and whatnot. And so Stead goes to Ashern, her aunt, and Alice, and delivers this message saying, hey, Savant wants to use their child. She's pregnant, and he wants to use this child to take over Lake Haven. Ashern just kind of vaguely answers why he can't, and use their child to take over Lake Haven. And then he kind of also pulls her aside and is like, look, I also overheard a lot of bad stuff. I overheard her accusing him of raping her. I saw him hit her. She also mentioned that she knew her father had kind of forced her into this, and Ashern is like, sorry, still can't.
She signed the docs.
She's like, I can't risk national security for hearsay. And Stead's like, fuck you, I'm gonna do my own thing. Part 3.
So much happens
in part 3. And I feel like I'm not going to be able to summarize it adequately.
I think the major parts of part 3 are she doesn't die from her suicide attempt.
Yeah.
There's a slight shift with Savant, but it's not till he has an affair with Talia, and then Talia tortures her.
Oh my gosh.
And she almost
Talia.
dies that time. That there's a bigger shift with him.
Yeah.
And
Theramar dying.
Theramar dying.
Oh my gosh.
So,
part 3 killed me.
And part 3, Savant says he loves her. Then she's like, I don't know if I love you per se, but I do want to stay and be a queen, and I want to make a difference. And then they have a night of passion, and that gets interrupted by explosions, and then she gets taken by, guess what? Talia is not dead, and then Stead shows up and tries to kill Savant, and in that moment they could have saved her, but they didn't, and Savant gives Stead the craziest line ever at the end when he's like, well, then epilogue is she's being held captive, terrible conditions, she's being held captive, not ever fun. And she's about to pop with the baby, has the baby. She doesn't want to have the baby. The goddess sends a guy to help her escape. She sends her, they go to his house.
Didn't that guy show up, if I remember correctly, like, I don't know what's going on. You're coming with me.
And then she doesn't want to have the baby, but the goddess is like appearing to her as a midwife or as the wife.
As the midwife.
Midwife. And she's like, okay, well, you have to have the baby for so many reasons. And end of the book is like, what color of blood does the baby have? Because that's important for the book. So
I was like following you, like your summary along. Yes. Okay. Yes. Lydia's was like, what?
Mine was
happened?
abrupt. But we want to dive into some of these characters and ask some questions that have been on our heart. And then we kind of want to just see a little bit about the epilogue and what's coming, okay? Let's talk about Stead. I love Stead, okay? Is it okay for me to love Stead? Does everyone in this room love Stead?
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. This is actually hilarious. Are you talking? I feel like you're referencing another book. And you're like, am I right to love this character?
Yeah, I kind of have really bad radar on. I just love everybody.
That's fair.
Have you read Throne of Glass? Like even the first book? Yeah.
I have not.
Okay, there is a character in Throne of Glass like universally hated.
No one likes.
She loves.
I love him as a character.
So she asks sometimes.
But he's not even a bad guy. Kind of saying he's a side character, but I love him.
Okay, Stead though.
Stead, I love Stead. Okay,
I do want people to like Stead.
Okay.
Eventually, it's okay if you don't in this book. Eventually.
Here's my question. If you can answer, is Stead being manipulated by Ara's aunt and uncle? Or is he being pulled along or kind of used as a pawn?
I would say Ashern, the aunt, is very pragmatic and loves Ara, and by extension cares for Stead for what he can give Ara, but is not afraid or opposed to using him as a pawn in
as a resource in
other. She would throw him under the bus, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, and I want you to talk about Stead's new abilities, because we meet this character named Ember.
Yes.
Who is a soul trapper, and this is kind of like expands the book.
Yeah.
From just what we're doing here. So at this point, there's a point in part 2 where she tries to assassinate him, and she does something to his lungs.
Yeah.
And he can like breathe underwater for a really long time, or like hold his breath for a really long time, or whatever. So what can you explain about that encounter that will help the readers, not with spoilers for book 2, but like just set up of like understanding what happened there that gave him that ability?
So the magic system, heal, harm, expand, where you can, it's all about like things in their neutral state and then being acted upon, and like I said, thermodynamics, like force, emotion, physics. So if you have something in its neutral state, a pair of lungs, just a normal healthy pair of lungs, the magic goes, if you want it, you could harm them, you could make them sickly, or you could, if they were sickly, then you could heal them, bringing them back to that neutral state. Expanding is building on it. It's like the other end of, it's like, what's the word? If you have a graph, axis, the other axis.
Okay.
I wasn't going to get there either.
Is like expanding something. And so that would be making him be able to intake more air or hold his breath longer. That's where it gets a little bit more vague in terms of what I actually know about the human body. But that is essentially what she did, was she increased his lung capacity to where he could hold his breath longer. Basically, the equivalent of if you train for like a bazillion marathons or were a swimmer for 20 years and just could.
And I think when we're reading this book, we hear about Ara talking a lot about, well, in the lake, there's these glowy things. And then all of a sudden, they're like, how do we get to the bottom of the lake? All of a sudden, Stead can hold his breath and go to the lake and swim to the bottom. And it's like, you two are like, the plot is plotting and you guys need to talk to each other.
Yeah, I will say, because Savant put an axe through his chest, his lungs are now damaged.
That does do that.
Yeah, so. Okay, Ara.
Okay, Ara. This is a good one. What do readers possibly misunderstand about Ara?
I think they underestimate how much of what she does is a trauma response.
That's fair. I think also that kind of goes with the, like, because I, having read this book now, have more trust in like the author, okay, I can get behind this. But sometimes it's like, if the author doesn't put a lot of trauma response into a character, it's like, is this a trauma response, or is this how the author's writing it?
Sometimes it's like traumatic event, but I'm resilient and I'm not affected by that.
But it's okay, because
1 month later
exist.
Yeah. Well, that is why, like in chapter 1, I had to do so much heavy lifting to show she's just like happy, innocent, doing her own thing, has been sheltered, and she's a pacifist as well, with a very like pacifist worldview, and so being exposed to so much bad in that quantity in such a short amount of time, there's gonna be trauma.
Yeah. I just like a really quick snippet. I actually knew a pessimist while I was in the military, and it didn't work out for him. He joined a pessimist, and then he was like, I can't do this. Yeah, joined warfare, my dude. I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this. But what do you want people to learn from Ara as a female main character?
I want people to learn that you can come back from mistakes, because she makes a lot with well intentions, and her arc is a slow burn. It is over the course of 4 books, but coming into her strength is, we see a little bit of it in book 1, where she ends out like, I do want to be a queen. I do want to actually like know what I'm doing and be an asset to my people. And so no matter like how badly you think you fucked up, you can come back from that.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's true for Savant.
Savant.
Let's talk about him next.
Strong off with genocide. Lovely for that.
Why did you make him the way that you did? Because as a reader, he does terrible things. Genocide is terrible.
Yep.
Okay, it's such a complicated relationship with Ara, because he does terrible things. He's not a good husband, but.
No.
I said, but I just mean, like, am I delusional that, are you going to show us that somebody can change, or is like,
double down, this is a bad guy?
So the change he goes through in book 1 is genuine. The love he eventually feels for Ara is genuine, and there are bits and pieces of it, even as early as like part 2, that he is starting to get there. And in book 2, we get his POVs, we get a much better understanding of his moral code, and can therefore understand why he would have pushed back against developing feelings for her. hated him until I finished writing book 2. So there, like
that makes sense.
That's how much like more development we get of him in book 2. But in book 1, like you're asking like, is he doubling down bad, or is he?
I'm asking because I want to see more of the reasons why he does what he does and has done what he did. Because I like the idea of people are not black or white. People aren't good or bad. He's done some bad things, really bad things. Don't come at me, people. He's done some bad things. But I just want to see if, I think it'd be so interesting in a book to see a bad person that does bad things change in a realistic
I will say
way that I support.
I can't think of a specific movie, but Disney recently is more guilty of this, where it's like, used to be bad is bad, period.
Yeah.
Disney is getting now and more into this thing where it's like justification for the bad person.
Yeah.
I miss this villain where it's like, here's a villain, here's a bad person. Yes. They're still human though, but they are bad.
Yeah.
Or they make bad choices.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm kind of like, in book 1, that's kind of where it was. So it's like, is that the direction you're heading? Like, bad person, bad things, but they're still human? Or is he just like villain, period, not a good person?
No, so his justifications, he and Ara very much are foils for each other, where his intent is good and his execution is, I mean, not for the play on words, but like he does evil things because they are point blank the most efficient way of doing things. And whereas Ara is doing things because they're the most merciful way of going about things, and that's why part 3 is so much about them learning how they balance each other out with her mercy and his ruthlessness, because you need both.
I'm really excited to see book 2 because this is like such an interesting, intriguing character to me. I think your like little snippet of how, I think in the first video where it's like, this is the Lord Ruler in the place of Warbreaker is almost spot on, because it's like, this is that character. That is.
Well, and if you've read all of Mistborn, right? Well, and even into Hero of Ages, we get a lot more insight into why he was doing those things. And I, like, when I say he's the Lord Ruler, like, I wrote this book and him as a character because I read Hero of Ages and said, I want to explore more of that character. I want that character to get more screen time. I want a book about the Lord Ruler.
So exciting.
And so, no, he is not the villain of the series. He is an anti-hero, but the true villain of the series is Rei.
Who we get introduced to at the end of the book. I want to talk about Papa Ayan.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Because
the sentiment is shared.
Because I can't tell if I'm a bad person or if, as I'm reading this book, and Savant commits genocide, he's not a great husband, he's a lot of bad things, I am more mad at Ayan, at Ara's dad, for the lying and for making Ara feel isolated in a terrible situation, for that lie with the painting when
because like I think you kind of already like Savant is doing the most efficient things for what he sees the good reason.
Because his
why
kingdom,
is the father?
Because Savant does bad things. We see him do bad things. We've seen him commit genocide, but we also see that, and we see that he has slaves in his kingdom. We see these things, but we also see a lot of good things that if you can like take a step back and maybe not look through Ara's trauma eyes of like the way his kingdom is run is actually really great in a way. Not perfect, but like
I said,
I can see the reasons. Why does
execution?
Why does her dad lie so much?
Yeah, why is he lying?
So Ayan, he and Ara are actually very similar, and And Ara even recognizes this in book 2, this specific similarity, that not what I'm about to say. He is a coward. That is his fatal flaw. Ara is more courageous than him, but they both have a tendency to be willing to go to extremes to keep the people they love from dying. And Aen's whole worldview is, I would rather have my loved ones be in the most miserable circumstances than lose them. And even in the prologue, well, I can't remember. No, it's when Ara confronts him about it. He brings up his mother dying and says there wasn't enough left of her to send on a ship, basically. And so there you get a little nugget there of like, losing his mother is what kicked off this, what has turned into such a fatal
I can
flaw.
see that, of like, for him it's worse for someone that he loves to die than to just live through it.
Doesn't he say, and I might be delusional, somewhere in the book where it's like, I'd rather my loved one or whatever live a miserable life than die. Like he says that or something. Like that is, I remember that. Like I remember, because you underlined it.
I know, I feel like I remember reading that too.
Yeah, and I was like, that is like, it did make me think like, what point of view, like you really have to think about that. Would you really rather your loved one lived a miserable life than to die?
Well, I answered it. I wrote it in the book. I said, prologue, I would rather die.
Well, and beyond that, it's that he's not willing to let the person make the choice. Like Ara should have, she was only 15, but she should have been given the choice at every step of the way. And
okay, I want to talk about my favorite character in the book, which is Theramar. My bad.
No, Theramar?
Theramar.
Okay.
I really liked him.
I was calling him Theramar.
And I liked I liked that he was like the only person that saw the good side of Vane, and then he died. Okay, and you killed him.
Wow, the accusation, that was like so.
Why did you kill him? Because I know why it's important, but I want to hear it from you. Is why did he have to die?
I know, and if it makes you feel better, as I have been writing book 2, and especially Vane's POVs, where Theramar has been kind of such a guidepost for him a lot of the time, even just writing without Theramar there I've had to just like delete sections and like do so many rewrites because Vane is floundering without him and Ara. And so if it makes you feel better, I too have suffered.
It does.
Everyone's suffering.
It makes me feel better.
I will say, Theramar basically slapping Vane around in that one scene where it's like, you did what? No, shut up. She's going to explain this to me and then you keep talking. And it was like, that was like,
because I was like, wait, no one talks to Vane that way. And I was like, I love this guy. And then he died helping save Ara from a terrible situation with Talia.
I just like, I loved that scene where it was like,
it was painful to read.
It was painful.
But I loved it. But it was, girl, you couldn't just have her stab her. You had to have her.
There was a few times where it's like, just commit murder, please, for someone else, so someone else doesn't die. And like, this was one of those like, okay, because so lived, other people are gonna have to die.
Consequences.
Yeah. There was a lot going on in this book.
So much going on in this book. So I want to talk about a couple quotes. Hand me the book, Beck. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so one quote that I loved is Farron. So Era's mom, Farron. I kind of combined them and we got an ACOTAR character. Okay, Farron. She was such a great character for wisdom. Okay, and I loved her. I felt like she was strong because she was kind, but she wasn't like people walk over her type of kind. Like, she was a strong character. She's a strong person. And she says to Ara at the end of the book, page 393 in this version or whatever. It says, "You do not get to decide what angers me or not," Farron said softly. "That is my choice, and there's nothing you could ever do to incur the rage from me you think you deserve." And this is after she finds out, like, but I chose Stead over you, and she's like, you don't get to take away my choice of when I get to be angry. And she also, Era also learns from her mom about her own choice in, she may not get to control her environment, but she gets to control her mind. And so she takes that from her mom, and that like helps her in this book. We see it where she's trying to forgive Savant, but she's like, I don't want to. And then eventually she's like, maybe we can come to a mutual playing field, or maybe we can change. But the choice comes from me. And she felt a lot of power when she realized that. And I really love that theme in the book of, I can't control my environment, but I always can control my own mind and my own thoughts and my own feelings.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really great theme for the book.
Thank you.
And for Era's arc. Because then we see her start to kind of get stronger because of, she finally, this whole book has been floundering with, everyone takes my choice away from me. I don't get to, I'm just a pawn. And then when she made this decision, that's when I saw the shift for her of like, I can choose what I'm going to feel.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about page 525. This is, if I can get to it.
Oh, that's a wild question.
On the edge of my seat. Okay, so this is, Savant says that he loves her. Okay, and then there's a quote where internal dialogue of, if Vane Savant had been this way from the beginning of their marriage, she would have fallen in love with him. And so I think actually there's another part in this book where you say they could have fallen in love. Could they have fallen in love if? And I want you to fill in the blank. They could have fallen in love if.
If he didn't commit suicide.
I am going to preface this with, eventually, I think, no promises, but I think eventually Ara will fall in love with him. It is like, once I finished book 2, I did realize that Savant was going to probably be endgame, and so I've had to like dial back and say, okay, this is going to be a why choose, because I always planned for her instead to be endgame. However, in book 1, they would have fallen in love if Ara, he even says it, if she had been willing to see him as anything other than a villain at the beginning. Because what he was showing her in that first scene where granted he heckles her parents, but how can you not heckle Aid?
Yeah.
But in that first scene when he takes her for the walk, he is, and I actually want to include this as a bonus scene at some point where it's his point of view, where he genuinely is like, I'm about to get to know my wife and I'm excited. And this is like, I've never been married before. Like, this is crazy. And then he tells her later in the book, like, you didn't give me anything except that you like harps. And so I went out and
I love that part when he was like, I went out to find a harp. I had very short notice, and then he ends up finding like the best harp that you could find.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he did try. He did commit. That's what I'm saying is, can you get past genocide?
And a few other things.
And that's why I think like the whole theme of the book for me is what Theramar says at the beginning. Love is a spectrum. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're ever going to land at the same point on the spectrum. But things just like cascaded, started bad and got worse. And if they had started off on better footing, and especially we see him so much from Ara's point of view, where she will not see him as a villain for anything other than the majority of the book, and then he's like, well, then I will act like a villain. It just goes from bad to worse. But yeah, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also love the quote, "Love is a spectrum," because going into that book, you see that, and you signed the book, "Love is a spectrum," I think. And
Yeah,
so it's like, okay, I read that. Going into this book, I really just had that on my mind. And so reading it was like, okay. So like having that in the back of your mind, like, what do you mean love is a spectrum? And then you're reading, you're like, oh my gosh, what is love even, actually?
It is true, because even in like a less intense situation that Mars went through, but like in life, if you've ever loved somebody as a friendship or even romantically, like you can love someone at a time, and then later in life, after things have changed, you've both changed. It doesn't mean you don't love them anymore, but you love them in a different way.
Yeah.
And love is it's more than just I'm in love with you passionately. There is a, and even in like a marriage or a friendship, you sometimes fluctuate within that, and we think from our Disney movies that like we have to be in this state all the time, but that's not realistic. So I did think that was a great theme to see in a book. But can you tell us about this series? What's coming? How many books? What's coming? And what's next for you as an author?
The series is 4 books. There is a prequel novella that I have partially written about Ara's grandmother and an Astron's mom, and how she dies. So it is a tragedy.
It's a sad novella, guys.
Which is probably why I kind of stalled on it. It's like, oh.
It's so heavy compared to this.
The thing is, it isn't. Like, it just ends sad, but it's happy otherwise. But yeah, so book 2 is written. I'm in developmental edits for it right now. You can ask me questions about it if you...
I was like, what can you tell us about book 2?
What I want to know, well, actually, I don't want to know. I just want to guess that I think the baby's blood is purple, because I think it's like a mix of red and blue.
Okay, I'm going to admit something that's so bad that you shouldn't do when you read books. I wasn't that far into the book when I looked at the last page.
Oh.
And I was like, what the heck does purple mean?
Or like, what does the blood mean?
Yeah, and I was like, I wasn't knowledgeable enough to be like, what does that have to do with anything? I didn't know how the book ended other than that. I just saw your note.
And I'll tell you,
I do that.
I hope Ara instead get a conversation. Do they? In book 2?
In book 2? No.
Whoa.
Sorry. They have one exchange.
Okay.
That's going to be better than the back, like, missing each other.
Okay.
Maybe.
But no, I'm just excited. Support Kickstarter, whatever we can do whenever you do your next thing, get an audiobook, do your next book or whatever. Because I love this book. I want more people to read it. So
yeah. But if you do have anything to say about book 2, I mean, if you want to, if you don't, if you just want to leave it, like, book 2's coming out. It's exciting.
It is darker than book 1. And you will hate Rhea more than any other character.
What do you mean darker? That's going to be so scary going into.
I'm so excited.
I am too. It's like this book is going to cause you to cry.
Again,
give me the
but
book.
Worse than first time. Yes, I want that. Thank you.
Yes,
there was someone
buying.
told me on TikTok, they were like, when I talked about Mistborn, and they were like, oh, this book is great if you don't like happiness. And I was like, that's great. Sign me up for that book. Same with this. I
just want to say, she has no idea how the book series ends.
Okay.
Like 0.
You
but
are
anyways.
so much. In the
I'm so
best
excited.
way.
Okay, so thank you for coming. It was great to chat, and just keep us posted, and we'll keep our listeners posted too.
And everything is still linked below, so please go look into the book. If you haven't read it and you're here for some reason, go get the book.
Now you know everything.
It's too late. Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening.
Thank you.